Hello, everyone, and welcome to Meticulous Talks on October 15th. I'm, as always, Chris Cords.
And I'm Hithroc.
Yeah, it is. Should have thought of an intro. Do you have an intro planned, Hithrock?
No?
If you can't tell, it's going to be a slightly more casual stream than we usually have. Where, like, there is sort of news in the sort of release-ish of the sort of mini set. But we just talked about that in our last stream.
Yeah.
So isn't much to say on that matter. So instead, we're taking a somewhat lighter tack, talking about some history, personal
Yeah.
history, I guess.
Yeah. How we got into the game and other things. Some things in the game.
Yeah, basically. Uh, and I guess I suppose it goes without saying if you have any burning questions, I don't know, but if you do to either of us, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll answer.
Yeah.
Um, you want to go first, I talk or?
Sure. So I guess let's start from the beginning. I think it was November 2016 is when I had to sit with my sister because my parents were away and she's like too small to leave her alone. And they put MLP for her to watch. And since I had to sit with her, I kind of watched with her too. And that's how I got into the show.
Oh, really?
Uh, yeah,
Had, had you heard about it at all before then, or?
I have like vaguely heard about it. I think some of my friends were into it, but otherwise, like I've never really watched it or like seen it myself.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I was basically babysitting my sister, uh, watching the show with her, and like after maybe first 10 episodes, I was like, all right, fine, and I went ahead and watched the entire thing myself in like a couple of days.
So, sorry, you watched like 10 episodes just with her that day? That's a fair amount of TV.
No, it was like across several days.
Ah, I see. Okay.
I think like when I watched I think my favorite episode, like in the beginning, was or moment rather, is the Parasprite one where like Pinky saves the day. That was amazing, and
Hmm.
that's when I kind of decided like, okay, this is good. I'll watch the entire thing, and like that's another thing is that my sister was watching it on Russian, and I prefer to watch things in English to like learn the language more, consume it. um, so yeah, that's what I did. After that I watched it all by myself at my home.
So that's, and Animoy brings up an interesting point that kind of slipped my mind. It's interesting that your favorite moment wasn't episode 6, Trixie's episode.
Yeah, I mean, I liked that episode, uh, but I mean, I didn't really have any opinions formed until I watched the entire thing. And even after that, even after I watched the entire thing, I wasn't actually sure it was my favorite. I kind of liked a lot of the characters. Like I like all of the characters. Uh, and I was and like after a while, I thought like, oh, but Sweetie Belle is also so good, you know. And then eventually, it all came down to Trixie, which didn't take long. So after I watched the show, uh, I also it's just kind of so happened that at the same time I started using Discord. And I was using Discord because I was running a subreddit called Five Card Hearthstone, which is like this. It's not like a game mode, but it's basically a game where people submit their five card Hearthstone decks, and we like battle them against each other, but not like in the game because you can kind of figure out which deck wins from just
Right.
five cards. And people would count their scores and would see who wins, and every week we would have like a different twist to the rules. It was kind of a fun game mode to run.
Interesting.
I
Sorry, you said that you were running it.
Yeah, so I didn't come up with it, but I was like eventually running it because the original guy kind of handed off things to me.
Okay.
So yeah, that was the thing. And so what I was getting at is that subreddit eventually got a Discord server. So I kind of had to start using a Discord because like I would need to see what people like discuss and things like that. Participate in the community, which wasn't big community, but it was a community nonetheless. So I actually wanted to do something similar for MLP, but I couldn't come up with like a good rule set for that, so never really came anywhere. Anyway, so I started using Discord, and I figured like, okay, I just watched this MLP thing. It was really good. I also watched the Equestria Girls right away too. I also liked that. Sorry, GP. And then I thought like, okay, maybe there's like some pony Discord servers out there, and I should like join and lurk them. That's how I joined main chat. I just went to the MLP subreddit, found like a Discord server there, even though main chat is not like the official subreddit Discord server. At that point, it was kind of, de facto subreddit Discord server.
Mhm.
I joined that. I started like lurking a bit, and then I talked a little bit. And then my friend, one of my Russian friends, mentioned like, "Oh, you like card games, right? Do you know there's like MLP card game since you're in MLP now?" And that was like in December, only like just a month after I watched the thing.
Right.
And I said like, yeah, sure, let's try it. It's gonna be awesome. And we both had TTS because I thought it's like pretty much impossible to get cards in Russia anyway, which it is, especially if you don't have a job. I didn't have a job at the time, so I didn't have income. No way I'm ordering anything from the US.
Mhm.
Too expensive. I launched TTS to like play around with the cards, read the rules because my friend also doesn't know how to play the game. So one of us has to read the rules, and it's gonna be me
Right.
because my friend is not gonna do that.
And at that point in time, it was like, was it High Magic that, or like what
It was
was?
Marks and time. It was half a year before Defenders of Equestria release.
Okay.
So Defenders of Equestria released next summer. So we're in December, and next summer is Defenders of Equestria release. It was about that time where we were starting getting spoilers for the mains. I think that's the only thing that was out at the time for Defenders.
Mhm.
So yeah. So we read the rules. Well, I read the rules. I kind of got the hang of it. I didn't understand everything completely because the rules are kind of complicated, and I think I was reading off the wiki, and I didn't understand everything. Like it's kind of actually hard to learn the game without someone teaching it to you because the game is complicated.
Yep.
And I launched TTS, and I just realized that there's no good TTS mod out there for this game. Like there are some mods that just give you like all of the cards, which is fine.
I feel like I remember that one. Yeah, it was just a well, yeah, just a table and a bunch of cards,
Yeah,
basically.
just table a bunch of cards, and the worst part is those cards are not named. So to find the card, you need to actually scroll through all of the cards to see like to catch the one you need. It was terrible. After spending like half an hour doing that to build my deck, which was a Trixie deck, I just googled MLPCCG Trixie deck, and there was this Equestria Daily post with I think one of the game developers building a Trixie deck or something. Like it was a purple Trixie deck.
Hmm.
Yeah. And my friend got completely on the so it was like a casual Trixie deck. It was mono purple. It had like basically purple cards, some events, and the Trixie main. But that was good enough for me. Uh, my friend went kind of to the opposite spectrum, and he like Googled the best deck out there, which was Chaos Control, Marks
Ooh.
and Time Chaos Control.
Yes, we were in Marks. That would be. Well, that'd be one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the one he picked. It had orange Luna
Yep.
main, and all of the goodies that come with Chaos Control. So imagine a player who has never played the game play Chaos Control, and me trying to understand how anything works. Uh,
Yeah.
we did not play everything correctly. We definitely did not play Troublemakers correctly. That's what I remember.
Hmm.
Because then I kind of reread the whole section about Troublemakers to get a better idea how they work. I don't remember what we did incorrect. I just remember that was a thing. Um, so yeah, I mean, we still had fun, but it was really weird.
Hmm.
And after building a deck card by card once, I thought like, yeah, no, there like gotta be a better way to do this. So I went ahead and I wrote a little program, mostly for myself, which takes a Ponyhead deck, Ponyhead list, and converts it into a TTS deck where you should just open up and like it works, which is known as Exporter today.
That is the
That's that's the thing. It originally worked completely differently. It wasn't instant. Like right now, you just export the deck and gives you JSON immediately and can use it. No, before it would actually build the card sheets on the spot just for that deck and upload them to Imgur, and then would give you the JSON. So it took a while. Like it showed you a little progress bar. It was also quite unstable. So I built that, and I thought like, oh, but maybe like other people also want to play this game in TTS, and this is like kind of solves the barrier of entry to playing it in TTS. So I thought like, okay, I'm maybe gonna post that into like MLPCCG Discord server, which I found later. So I posted it, but apparently the Discord server was pretty much dead because I posted it. There was no reply, and then there was like a couple of raids there. So it was a fun time in the Discord server. I think if you scroll back all the way to 2017 January or like somewhere around that, you'll see my post where like, oh hey, I made this little thing that lets you play TTS.
yeah. I'd imagine that was the time when the sort of main actual community was still over on Skype.
Oh, Skype, not IRC.
Well, maybe there was someone IRC too.
Uh, so yeah, pretty much nobody was on the Discord server. Uh, and for that reason, I kind of kept engaging in main chat. So there are actually a fair amount of people who play the game in main chat or used to play the game in main chat, and I kind of played with them. And I later on, like I think it was January or February, I started building my draft simulator because I really wanted to play draft. Um, so I like spent a couple of months building it to play it on main chat. And the weekly drafts that I hosted were actually originally in main chat. And we had like consistently about like 6 to 8 people. It was pretty good.
Hmm.
Taking a sip of coffee here. 1 sec.
Yep.
So at around the same time period when I was building the draft simulator, I actually found out that there is a community in my city, which is Moscow. Was Moscow anyway.
Hmm.
Um, which I mean, I did not expect that at all because the card game is not sold there. There's no Russian version of it, so that's like a barrier of entry as well. You kind of need to know English, or at least get familiar with the cards in order to play it without English. Um, and like the cards are kind of hard to get, but apparently there was like a play group. It wasn't big. It was like 4 to 5 people at the time when I at least showed up, but it was a group. I found it. I kind of messaged the guy who like mentioned like, oh, we're like, so I found out about the group on Friday, and they were actually gathering on Saturday, next day, which was completely unexpected to me.
Hmm.
So I messaged the guy who like wrote a post that like, hey, we're gathering this Saturday. Like, can I come? And he said like, sure. And that's when I played the game for the first time in real life, and it was like so cool to see the cards, in front of you.
Hmm.
Not like in TTS on the screen, but like actual physical card. Like it was kind of a moment for me. I even took a photo, like, oh my god, I'm actually playing this game.
Did you play Purple and Trixie then as well, or?
Well, I didn't have any physical cards, so I
Right.
had to play whatever the players would give me. I think that my first game was with the Octavia starter.
Right.
I think that was my first game. My second game was a pile because one of the players in that group really likes pile. It's like his top one favorite deck. So that's what he like gave me.
Are you sure
That's
it wasn't cheese in disguise?
no, 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 no. So yeah, he really likes Spile, and he kind of explained it to me. And thankfully, since I played Magic before, I played Hearthstone before, I kind of know this game work, like how what combo is and so on. So I kind of like got a hang of it, and I actually won the game. But I mean, it's not impressive to win a game with a pile deck against Octavia starter. So
Hmm.
uh, that's. I think there was also a starter. I don't remember. I don't think it was Octavia starter. But there was that resource which had like a printing error in it where it didn't have a minus. So it read like, oh, this problem is only one to confront.
Marvelous Chapeau?
Yeah, yeah. So I remember we had that resource and we played it wrong because, I mean, we just read the card and didn't know it was a printing error. But
Hmm.
it did seem really powerful for what its cost. So it didn't make much sense. But
That's the way it goes.
yeah, so I mean, I really liked it. And I started kind of showing up, but I didn't have like my own deck. I kind of wanted to have my own deck, and sometime later, one of the people of the play group started like organizing a group buy to save on the shipping.
Hmm.
And actually, Interplay was amazing that they at that time provided flat international shipping. It was like I think $19. Like doesn't matter what size the order is. Small, big, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how far you live. It's always $19, which is a really good deal. So, and like if you buy in a group, then you split that cost, and it becomes
Exactly. Yeah.
like $6 maybe. So, and I actually gathered up to buy a Trixie deck, and the Trixie deck, which is still the show, was my first physical deck. I think I bought it like in March or something.
Right. This is
And at
still,
this, yeah,
sorry, March of, I guess it'd be 2017 then?
2017, yeah,
Okay.
2017. So yeah, and I bought the Trixie deck not because it was a Trixie deck, although that too. I bought it because it had paper twice, and I knew paper twice like really powerful, and I kind of wanted them, and I knew they were fixed.
Hmm.
Because by building Draft Simulator and building the exporter, I kind of figured out how like things are as far as like rarity goes, what cards there are, and so on. And playing draft in main chat also helped to learn the cards. So that was my first physical deck. And later on in the summer, when Defenders were released, I actually asked my parents because I lived with my parents at the time because I didn't have a job, and I didn't have a job for complicated reasons.
Hmm.
Short story is because Russia, but I didn't have a job, so I kind of asked my parents to like make me a gift for a birthday and like buy a couple of booster boxes. And so they did, and I got two Defenders of Equestria booster boxes, which were like just released at that time. And there was also a hilarious story about that. When I ordered them from, I don't remember what the store is called, but it's wholesale something.
Okay.
It's like one of the retailers where you can get the boosters
I
boxes really cheap.
I feel like I probably I've ordered from them before, but
Hmm.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I confused my billing address with my mailing address, and on my billing address, I didn't have a lot of information. It just had the country and the city, nothing else, no other address parts on it.
Right.
And later I found out that I also got the zip code wrong. It was one number off. And and the reason for that is that like I thought it was a billing address, so it didn't matter as much. But it used my billing address as my mailing address, and now it was a huge issue because I have like this 200 about $300 of boxes going somewhere,
Yeah.
they're going somewhere, and like $300 is like huge amount of money when you don't have a job.
Absolutely.
It was like a huge purchase for me. It's big, and it was very disheartening to like make a stupid mistake like that. But it was totally on me. So I tried messaging the reseller, like, "Hey, I got the address wrong. Can you do something about it?" I got no reply. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna call them because they had like a phone number, but it's an American phone number. Calling internationally is really, really expensive.
Yep.
So the solution to that is Skype. Skype for really, really cheap allows you landline calls, and you can really cheaply call into the US. Like the whole thing costed me like less than $1. So I
Okay.
called them, but nobody picks up. Called them the next day. Nobody picks up. I called them at a different time. Nobody picks up. So after like trying for a week, I kind of gave up and like, all right, the package is going somewhere. Let's just see where it ends up, and like if it gets returned, I'll figure something out. And it actually made it to my city, to like a post office in the center of my city, which I mean, I technically did not live in Moscow. I lived like in one of the cities outside of Moscow at the time, which was like right next to Moscow, but not technically Moscow. So it
Mhm.
made to the center of that city, and I kind of went there, just picked up the box. So it's kind of,
Right.
I guess anticlimactic ending, but a good one.
Well, yeah, that's what we all wanted to hear for sure.
Yeah, and I had so much fun opening the packs, seeing the cards, not finding any embers.
So
Uh,
those would be your first packs opened.
yes, they
That's
would be.
that's crazy.
I think for yours, I got Changeling Throne and some other, or maybe I didn't get Changeling Throne. I don't remember. I think I got it. Yeah. See, I don't. It was so long ago. It was like 5 years ago. But yeah, these were my first packs opened, and I obviously like Defenders of Equestria brought a lot of really good stuff to the purple pink.
Hmm.
You got your belly flops, you got your berry punch. No, berry punch. Yeah, berry punch was
Yeah.
Defenders, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It
You
was.
got your rainbow shine.
That was the era of BRB. Is. Yeah.
Yes. Uh, no, Arrow of BRB was kind of like after Sequestrian.
Well, there was definitely some of it
Yeah, sure.
in
Yeah,
Defenders.
but yeah. So I've got like I've got the belly flops, rainbow shine, like all of the good stuff,
Hmm.
and I improved my starter deck with it. Steal the show, and I improved it so much that the player, like, remember that player who really likes Pile? He also really likes Balloona. He like loves that deck. And when like Hot Wings was in the meta, he built it, and he was just playing that deck. Like I played in physical cards. I played so much against Hot Wings. Hot Wings was pretty much the only deck I played against.
That's
But
right. I forgot. Defenders was the Hot Wings era. Yeah.
yes, yes. And I built my deck that like improved my deck that was good enough to actually, stand a chance against it. I was winning some of the time. So, of course, I wouldn't win 100% of the time, but like I was consistently getting wins against Hot Wings with that deck. So that was kind of nice. But yeah, Defenders like brought a lot of good stuff to that deck. So yeah, that's my first boosters open. That's my first experiences. Um, I was doing drafts in main chat at the time. I don't remember if I built any decks other than my physical one. I probably did. Oh yeah, I was always trying to like build my own combo deck for fun.
Hmm.
I was there was a fancy pants which had pumped, and for each like pumped cards that would score you a point.
Yep.
And I remember figuring out how to like combo with that somehow. It was a terrible combo, but it was a combo, which was fun. Like I was kind of playing with ideas at the time, but I don't think I built anything specific just yet.
Interesting. So
So
that's
yeah,
sorry to spoil my own story. That's one thing that we have in common then is trying to do something with that fancy pants.
yeah. Let's see if I remember something else from that era. Because like the next step that I remember is A Little Pony the movie comes out, right? And that's when we also like a couple of days before the movie we get spoilers for Sequestrian Beyond,
Mhm.
which was just like a couple of months after the thing, or was it later? I don't remember. Was the movie 2017? It was, right? Yeah, it must have been.
It must have been, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like only a couple of months after Defenders we get Sequestrian Beyond. And I was already like tagging MLPCCG Twitter, like, hey, any Trixies? You can, if you go to my Twitter and like look for replies, you'll probably find something like that. So yeah, that was fun. And then Sequestria got released, and I started to playing with this idea when basically I was building a BRB style deck. I just didn't know it was called BRB at the time because it wasn't a public deck yet, as far as I was aware. Like I knew, I didn't know that other people were building it at least. But I was playing with the like portals idea, where you get your bodyguards, you get a bunch of unicorns, you have a bunch of enters play effect. Like I built a really heavy control deck with that,
Mhm.
um, or at least playing with ideas at the time. Also, at the time, I think the Discord server started, the MOPCCG Discord server started to be a little bit more popular from what I remember.
It might have been around that era, yeah.
Yeah, so things were kind of improving in that sense for me anyway, because I use Discord. So where I was getting with that? Oh yeah, I was also doing the daily card threads on the subreddit because I was kind of active in the subreddit at the time. When I finished my draft simulator,
Yeah, I
I
remember those.
when I finished my draft simulator, I made like a post. Oh hey, I made the draft simulator. People can play it if they want. And then like, someone asked me whether I use like the print sequences or not, or just randomized. And I didn't even know that print sequences were a thing. I didn't know how the process worked. So I said like no, but where I can like get more information on this, and somebody posted like a link to the spreadsheet with some sequences, and then I think on IRC, me and Ara talked a bit about it, and he gave me like sequences for pretty much all of the sets, which I like implemented in a couple of days. I reworked my generation thing to use the print sequences. And now I could say my draft simulator is 99% accurate
Right.
to real packs. So yeah, I started doing the daily card threads because I thought it might be fun. Although it was kind of tedious to do because I only automated like the part. I wrote a script that would like generate the post for me, but I still had to input a lot of like info manually, like card picture, card alternatives, some facts about the card, because the Aracats API wouldn't be 100% correct on a lot of things.
Right.
For example, I mean, it still is the fired and ready problem. It has color rainbow. So I kind of had to do some manual work to make that a
Mhm.
thing. So after Sequestria got released, I think we got the. I don't remember if we got the. The pre-release kits
Yeah.
that Interplay used to do.
Mhm.
I think we got one of those for Sequestria, maybe two. or maybe I think the St. Petersburg group got it and then sent it us to me. Like something like that happened. But basically, we got our hands on some Sequestria packs, which was also really cool.
Right.
And also around that time, I also learned that there's a St. Petersburg group, which was like even more like, oh my god, so many people play this game in like I when I started learning this game, I had like zero expectations for any sort of community
Oh.
in Russia about it.
Oh, in Russia, yeah, I guess, eh?
Yeah, yeah. Like in the US, sure, because you can buy the game. It's in English. Like it's makes sense to have a community there, but not in Russia. But apparently in Russia, the community was. I mean, not like huge, but it was there.
Right. It was a community, yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, at some point, it was larger than communities in some other parts of the world. So yeah. So that's also in 2017. I think it was in November. There was like a Russian convention, which was the first convention I went to.
Hmm.
But I actually had no interest going to the convention. The only reason I went is to host the. Well, not really host because I didn't like help with MLPCG like part of it, like teach people the game and so on. It's where I traded a couple of cards. Uh, I remember trading F stops because one of the guys from St. Petersburg came in and he had 3 f-stops he didn't need. And I knew f-stop was a really good card that I wanted to play with it.
Yep.
Because remember, core was not a thing at the time, right? It was just
That's true.
Harmony. So f-stop was just as good of a card as any other as far as playability goes. So I traded 3 f-stops. I don't remember what I got for them, what I gave away for them, but that's maybe I think it was some of the defenders cards because that's all I had at the time. But anyway, that's I got my f-stops. I remember that. And several months later, Core Constructed Online gets announced, which was really good for me because I really wanted to participate in a tournament because I mean, don't really have tournaments in Russia,
Hmm.
so it was be really cool to like participate in some sort of competitive environment. Even though I think of myself as sort of not like I wouldn't. I guess I'm not really a casual player, but I also not really like I just wing it, so to say. When I build
Right.
a deck, I don't really tune it to the last like card. I don't really play test it. I just like
Right. Yeah.
I just enjoy playing the game.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I don't think of myself as like super competitive hardcore player because I just play the game. Um, so that was the thing, and Core Constructed gets announced, and I said like, oh, I want to play my Portal deck that I just came up with. Uh, it'd be really fun to play. I think I played a couple of games against some players on main chat. One player really didn't like my deck because I mean, remember we had mimics.
Hmm.
I used mimics heavily, and at one point I would have like 10 unicorns at each problem, mimics at both problems, and if they play anything, I portal something, and that thing goes away immediately. It
Yeah.
was not a nice deck.
Yeah.
It was like
This is starting to sound familiar.
it was a really heavy control deck. Like unlike BRB, which is not like it's closer, like it's faster. It's still controlish, but like it's closer to mid range, I would say, right? BRB.
Hmm.
My deck was full in control, like all control, yes. Control always, yes. Um, so I submitted my deck. I played. My first game was against. I don't remember what's his name, but he was in the community before me. He was like actively participating in the community before me. What was his name? You know what? I'm just gonna quickly open the core constructed results.
Oh, you still have those,
I mean, they're on Reddit.
I guess.
The first core constructed had 28 people. Your first opponent cursed was Pancake.
That.
Oh, that's right. I know who my first opponent was. Okay. My first opponent was Drata.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's not the person I was thinking of. because the person I was thinking of was my second opponent. So my first opponent was Drata, and Drata was doing only webcam, and I'm like, I don't have a space for webcam because I was living with my parents, and I only basically had like 2 square meters, 4 square meters of space. So webcam was like a non-option for me, and I also didn't really have like physical cards.
Hmm.
Nowhere near like the cards I needed to build that deck. So my first opponent was Drata, and I came up with this little thing that's I'm gonna stream him my TTS view, but hide my hand, and he would stream me his webcam, and we kind of played like that. And I won that game. I don't remember much about that game because I even forgot that my first game was with Drata apparently.
Well, yeah, it was. I certainly don't remember anything of my game with Pancake from that long ago.
Yeah. So I won that game. We went into the second game. In the second game, my opponent was where is he? Furry Flurry. No, Furry Flurry was no. Hold on. Furry Flurry was my third opponent, right? Yes. Okay, my second opponent was where is it? Oh, my second opponent was GP. Wow.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember what GP was playing. Let's see. It might have been Midnight Sonata. Maybe not. It was Tempest Shadow Storm Commander White Orange.
Okay.
Yes, it is Midnight Sonata. So I controlled him hard. So I won. We also, I think he did a mistake or something like that. Like something happened because I think we replayed the game, and our replay of the game lasted 3 hours. It was my longest game ever.
Huh.
Uh,
That's yeah.
but it was fun. I enjoyed every minute of the 3 hour game. And my last opponent was Furry Flurry, who ran. Let's see what he ran. Lyra Handy White. Yeah, it was a pink white control deck.
Mhm.
But it had Trixies in it, which is a bonus point. But my control was more control than his control. So because my control had mimics, his control also had mimics.
Right.
But yeah, basically I won that game, but it was like a close game. It was really good. Really enjoyed it. After the game, we kind of chatted a little bit about like things on game, and he said like, "Oh, I used to like commentate a game once." I was like, "Oh my god, that's so cool!" And now, now
Right.
we're in different place.
Right.
Um. So yeah, and that was my first ever tournament, and I was 3-0. And apparently I was 3-0 with like, I mean, pretty much accidentally built like a meta deck, I guess, because BRB is gonna be meta eventually.
Hmm.
Except BRB is like a more mid-rangey, but the style is the same. So yeah, that was my first tournament. It was really cool. I immediately signed up for the second one when it was announced.
Hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
which was pretty much
yeah,
right away, I think.
yeah, yeah. It was pretty much right away. I also noticed that Big Cheese, who also was 3-0 in that tournament, ran like a really similar deck to me, except with like some different cards, and I kind of stole some ideas. For example, I wasn't running Discord with Chaos. Like there's a Discord which has a portal effect on a Chaos. Discord Raffle. I was not running that in my deck. I was running that later. I was not running Selena Blue. Can you imagine not running Selena Blue in a pink white, pink purple? I
Yeah, it's. I mean, you were just getting started.
Yeah, I have no idea how I missed that card because when that card got spoiled, I was like, oh my god, this card was insane. It's scope things out except free and eccentric. Like I have no idea how I forgot about it. I think I also cut some of the problem replacement to like I had free bait and switches, which was I guess an overkill, but bait and switches was like a really good tool against aggro though. But yeah, then there was the second tournament, Coco, which I basically ran the same deck but modified some adjustments. I don't remember if I went 3-0 in the second tournament or not. Maybe I did. see. It's not that hard to find.
Right. Yeah, I don't. I'm just looking at this 28 or however many people in the first tournament. There's so many names here
Yeah,
that I know.
some of the people there are from main chat. Like in the first tournament. Let's see. Vector Frost is from main chat.
Hmm.
I brought him because I posted like the notification, like I messaged people on main chat like, "Hey, there's this online thing. If you want to play, come over." In the second core constructed tournament, one of the players there is the guy from St. Petersburg, and I think another player there is one of my local players at the time. So I was bringing people in as well, whoever I could reach. Yeah, on the second tournament, I also went 3-0, which was, I was like super lucky in many of those things. Let's see what my second tournament was. My first game was against Sonnet Scroll. Don't remember that at all. My second game was against Big Cheese, and Big Cheese was running the same BRB deck, and that pretty much the what we would see later on as the meta deck. But the thing is that BRB deck loses to my more control equipped deck. Like I out control it. It doesn't have enough base to outrun. So that's why I won that game against Big Cheese. Like in general, I think the BRB as it was in the meta was the better deck because it like worked better against multitude of decks than mine.
Mhm.
But mine was good against specifically, the BRB because it was more control focused.
Right.
And my third game was against Furry Flurry again. I think he wasn't playing Lyra. I think he was playing Farm at the time. It was Queen Chrysalis Changeling Pretender, but also Pink White. I guess I don't remember things apparently, but they were also 5 years ago. So, but yeah, I had a lot of fun, and I started thinking about other deck ideas. I was starting to think about things like I also got a job around that time when like Sequester got released. That's around when I got a job, which really helped me fuel my hunger for cards.
Money
I
can do
also,
that. Yeah.
yeah, I also went to St. Petersburg like in spring to trade with people, meet people in the like their group, and so on. I think I got my sticks there because sequestering you need sticks. You need to have sticks.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's when I started to play around with some other deck ideas. And my other deck ideas were so originally I built a purple white list, which used what did it use? It used the Rarity and Twilight Exposed to bring Troublemakers back, but at immediate speed, so you can instantly block the problem if you need to.
Mhm.
And I thought like, oh, that's really powerful. I want to build a deck around that. So I kind of built a deck. It was purple-white, which kind of focused like on heavy Troublemaker control, but also on portal effects. And it was not a good deck. It was like missing a lot of things. And I played the deck against Bugle. It was just a casual game in which we got like in Discord. I just messaged in Discord, so hey, anyone want to play? Or Bugle was looking for an opponent. I don't remember, but either way, we got to play. I got to play the Bugle, and he like completely destroyed me. But he also gave me a little hint, like, oh, you used like Rarity and Twilight Exposed to like bring Troublemakers back. There's also a purple-blue card called Twilight. There was like a Twilight that searches for a Troublemaker from your deck, right?
Right. Zeroed out.
Zeroed out. That's right. You could like maybe include that, and that's how my white, blue, purple deck, which is not an anti-farming, which is not a anti-farming deck, came into being.
Okay.
Because I looked at Exposed, I looked like, oh yeah, it is a really good card, and then I looked at some other blue cards, And there's actually some really good stuff in there. There's like a purple blue shining, which gets competitive against troublemakers. And I thought like, oh, that's really good. And he also gives you an AT when you challenge a troublemaker, I think. So I thought like, oh, that's really good. I can challenge my own troublemakers easily because I get competitive on it and I gain AT for that, so I can farm. And I also found embers, which are amazing for troublemakers because they're like free for you either way, challenge you or not. And I kind of built a deck around it, and it was really fun to play. It's still my most favorite deck to this day.
But you're
Uh,
saying it was Bugle's fault.
it was Bugle's fault.
Okay.
He pointed me to Zeroed Out, and that's kind of kickstarted everything. So yeah, I built a deck. It had some, like, it wasn't perfect on the first try. I had, for example, I thought like Tempests, the ultra rare Tempest from Sequestria, which puts tokens of troublemakers into play.
Mhm.
I thought that would be really good, but she turned out to be not that good. So kind of had to cut her. But eventually, like, the more I was playing the game, the more I like was tuning my deck and like changing things here and there. And it was really nice. And I think the first Coco I played that deck in was Core Constructed 3. Actually, sorry, I think it was Core Constructed 5.
Okay.
But yeah, I kind of played it on Coco. I think I went 2-1, which was good enough for me. Oh, that's also another deck I was tinkering with at the time was it was yellow white. Yellow was not popular at the time because we're not in what's Friends Forever meta
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
But
Close. Not quite.
yeah, not quite. We got day shifts, which were really good. And I built the Nurturing Nature deck. It was yellow white, and the idea was that you have Dance Fever. Remember that entry white Dance Fever, which gives you
Yeah.
+2 power when you play a song? So I
It was a
did that.
common card once upon a time.
Yeah, so it was the like song, not really song the deck, but it was a blue-white aggro deck, which had like a bunch of songs because yellow and white songs were really good. You have It's Gonna Work, which is a really good removal. Lets you helps you confront things. I don't think anybody ever used it for that mode before me at that point. um, Also lets you get things back. Oh no, it's something to do with troublemakers. Yeah, trouble. The end didn't have troublemakers, so it didn't matter. A Friend's Always There is still a staple card to this day, so that was a really good song. And Find Music in You is also a really good song because it would let you bring. First of all, it makes opponents lose AT, but that's relevant. It makes you uh, makes some problems easier to confront, which sometimes is relevant. But the thing I use that for is to bring my Banyibs back. It puts a card with printed power of 1 into play from discard pile, and Banyibs are really good for that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was a fun deck I was playing with. Yellow blue. Sorry, yellow white. I'm kind of wired into say yellow blue now after all of the destruction that we went through.
Yep.
Yeah. So also at the time, again, Discord servers started to be more popular. And with popularity to Discord servers comes another unfortunate part is the raiders. Main
Right.
chat, I got to be a mod in main chat in spring, in April. And there was like a couple of raids per day all the time. Like you get raided all the time if you're a pony server. Uh, People like come in, start to spam. You have to vet some of the people if like a bunch of people join. Sometimes the boss would just raid you. So it was like a pretty big problem in main chat, but thankfully in main chat we had like a bot, Sweetie Bot, which was kind of keeping all of that at bay. It has a really good anti-spam system, which I'm still like Discord's anti-spam system still like doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
We're 7 years into the platform, we still don't have the basic moderation thing. But that's beside the point. I'm not going to rant about Discord on Meticulous talks.
At least
Uh,
not that Discord.
yes, not that Discord. Yeah. And once MultiCG Discord server got raided with like a bunch of people spamming everyone pings. I think it was everyone pings, which is like really bad, and like nobody was there to respond to it. And I talked to the owner, who is Eastwind. I'm not sure if you've seen that name around.
I've seen him in the owner section of the
Yeah,
Discord
yeah, that's
server.
it. That's it. Eastwind is like is not participating, but doesn't want to give away ownership either. I specifically asked for that before to know. But either way, I'm not really talking about. So I talked to Eastwind to like, hey, I have this like Sweetie Bot thing I can set up, which will like is really good at anti-spamming, keeping raids at bay, has like really good protections against that. So like, I can give you the link, or I can set it up for you if you want. That's how I got modded on the Discord server. That's it. That's the only reason I'm a mod on the Discord server.
There it is. That's the story.
Yeah. I told you it's not what you expected, bro. And
It's not what I was expecting. No.
what were you expecting?
Well, I don't know. I assumed you would. I mean, as a pillar of the community, right? I think that's how Bugle got modded. Well, I'm not sure. I guess.
Yeah, I know. Well, I wouldn't think of myself as a pillar of community. Definitely not at that time either. But yeah, that's how I got modded. I get to set up Sweetie Bot and so on. And since I like had moderation experience from main chat is like a large server, and I kind of through my own interest knew a lot about how Discord works, how to set things up and so on. So I thought like, okay, since I have the powers, I might as well clean up the place, because the main chat, oh, not main chat, the BCG Discord server was not like, it basically had like two channels, maybe a rules channel and a general like it wasn't in a good shape.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like cleaned things up. I added some information in the rules eventually. Announcement channel. I started to improve the server, because I think I started to improve it.
I'd say so. Well, I
Yeah,
don't think I was on Discord at that time, so I don't. I probably wouldn't be able to say for sure. But
but yeah,
it seemed nice enough when I joined.
but yeah, like eventually it's became more livable, so to say, and I think right now it's in a pretty good shape. I think Discord server is pretty good. And eventually we ran into some problems with some permissions. Oh yeah, so eventually that was like forward into the future a couple of years. Um, there was a problem where Sim started making print and play sets, right? And we wanted to make a fan card creations channel, right? But Sim members can't see it, or should not see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the idea behind that channel, is that Sim members cannot see that channel. But that's kind of complicated, because Big Cheese is a moderator, and moderators can see all of the channels.
Right.
So I had to ask Eastwind to set a little thing up where actually the top role for moderation is now on me, so I can control pretty much. Like, it's like being a server owner without actually being the server owner, you know.
Okay.
And so I could change the actual moderation roles now, and I set things up so even Big Cheese can't see that channel while still having moderation permissions.
So you're like the super moderator now, basically.
Yeah, kind of. If you look at my roles in the Discord server,
Hmm.
hold on, where is it? You'll see that I am Friendship Council, which consists of one member, me.
I
I
see.
am the Senate.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's like the top role of the server, and I can't change it because it has like admin privileges, so there's no need to change it. So either way, that's a bit too far of a jump into the future. After some core constructed tournament, I think I also started to participating in Silver Spanners. Before, I was not participating in Silver Spanners because Silver Spanner had this restriction where you could only use your actual cards.
Right.
And
I
I
remember
didn't have a lot of cards. And like Silver Spanner for me is not fun if I have like my, one deck and a couple of packs. That's like not a lot of you can build with that. Just remove the cards you can play and then you can consume them. So, but then, and I also thought everybody was playing over the webcam because that was the official method promoted by Silver Spanner. So I wasn't participating in it because that's a deal breaker for me. I can't play over the webcam.
Mhm.
So, but then I learned that actually people play through Octagon, not through webcams. It's just the official method through the webcam for reasons.
For reasons,
But
yes.
reasons, yes. But actually, people play an Octagon, and I thought like, okay. I kind of looked around and I figured like, fine, I'll build a deck. Maybe it's not the most honorable thing to build a deck of the cards you don't have, but I'm like my card selection is so limited that if I like either play with like the whole card pool or I don't play at all. That's the choice. And they said like, okay, I'm gonna play, but I'm gonna use the cards they don't have. Which I know some people I think dislike that. People do, but oh well. At least I think I've heard some complaints about it at the
Well,
time.
yeah, like, I think I played in some of the original Silver Spanners, and well, yeah, if you're playing online, but also making restricting yourself to your own card pool. But like, I understand where you're coming from,
Yeah,
and obviously, in the era that we're currently in, restrictions like that do feel kind of absurd.
yeah. But I also I wasn't trying to build, the most competitive Silver Spanner deck out there. I was just mostly messing around.
Hmm.
Uh, like I had an idea. Sometimes I would just think of an idea where like, oh, I want to play that kind of deck, and I would try to build that kind of deck at Silver Spanner. And then at some point, that kind of set as my goal to find the combo deck in every Silver Spanner. So I was playing like just combo decks every time in every Silver Spanner. They were bad combo decks, but they were combo decks with all of the restrictions.
Yep. I'm starting to remember stuff that you're talking about now.
There was that weird Granny Smith deck, which I don't remember what it even did, but I used Granny Smith, persistence, and I think it does. I used it for a way to save a card from being dismissed, and that somehow was breaking something to let me combo. I don't remember, but that's the kind of stuff I was running at Silver Spanner. And I used Granny Smith because she had number 3 on it, which was the Silver Spanner at the time,
Hmm.
where you could only use cards which have 3 on them somewhere. But yeah, Silver Spanner was really fun. I really enjoyed it when I started to play it. So, and around that time, I don't remember when it was. I don't even remember which tournament it was. But GP messaged me, "Hey, do you want to commentate?" Actually, I think I can find the message now. Let's see when it was.
Doing some
Because
archaeology.
thankfully, huh?
Doing some archaeology here.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully Discord has a good,
Good archive. Yeah.
yes. Okay, ready for a game. Can we do tomorrow at the discussed time? Prepared for Coco, blah, blah, blah. So it was 2018 now, which makes sense. Octagon, blah, blah, blah. There we go. It was for BAMSCon 2018. GP just question for you, sir. Would you be interested in commentating on some of the events for BAPSCon? And I was like, no, I wouldn't even I wasn't even sure why such a request would come to me. I'm not, and I don't think I speak well in English. I
Hmm.
still don't think I do.
I,
Uh,
sorry, I didn't mean to agree with that. I think you speak fine in English.
nah, mm-mm, nah. So at that point, I like right now I at least have some experience actually talking to people in English. Back then, I had zero experience talking to people in English, like maybe in the text, but not in like other than playing in the tournaments, which is like familiar experience. You just have to pull out your actions. That's pretty much it.
Mhm.
By the way, we kind of he asked to talk to him in chat, and we kind of discussed it, and we scheduled it. And you know how American scones go for me when I was in Russia. It's just I have to stay up until 6 a.m.
Mhm.
But I mean, it was worth for me because it was like really cool thing to do. So yeah, that was my first commentary. Uh Also in 2018 was my first convention, which I actually went to. It was Galacon. I mean, I went to Russian conventions before, but again, I went there just for to help out with hosting postcards. This one I went to because I actually wanted to go to a convention
Ah.
and like meet some of my friends because I had a ton of friends online, like throughout Europe, but I couldn't meet them unless it was at the convention. So that was a good opportunity.
Mhm. That's a common uh, feeling, I guess, even
Yeah,
in North America. But yeah.
yeah. I think I played some deck. So it was a Harmony tournament. I think it was Chaos Control. I played something like that. But again, I just played for fun. I just put things together and play them. Yeah, and I mean, I don't even know what to tell beyond this point. That's kind of how everything me goes. I've been talking for an hour, so I guess
Yeah, I didn't think we would get that much out of. I was thinking we'd be lucky to get half an hour out of the stream total. Let's 1 hour of just you. Like I guess the story ends when you join this stream, basically. I would assume. Which.
yeah. Well, I mean, there's also like a little bit after that. I think in 2019, GP like messaged me like, "Hey, you want to play test this set we're working on?" Which was Leaders and Legends at
Mhm.
the time. So I was playtesting that, which was really fun. Now I'm not as playtesting as much, but yeah, back then I did some playtesting. So yeah, and that that's kind of where it ends, I guess. After that, it's not really much of a story. It's more of a present.
Well, yeah. At that point, it's yeah. If you've been here on the stream, you've seen it, and it's all well within living memory.
Yeah, but I guess I should also mention that as far as our physical group goes, I kind of became the leader of it because I started managing, like actually organizing, gathering myself.
Mhm.
I started organizing tournaments here because Steam was actually started to supply people with packs, which was really really good. And we were getting some packs, we're playing some drafts. Like it was a good time. It was a good time. I
Yeah.
think 2019 was like peak time for our MOPCCG community in Russia. I wonder what happened after 2019.
Well, several things. Yeah. It's a shame. Yeah, 2019 was a good year for many things really. Um. Well, yeah, yeah. It's I think it's in some respects it's a story that's a little bit maybe unfamiliar to some people here in North America because I don't know to what extent this is true, but like I would assume that most people got started with physical playgroups pretty early on in like in over here. Um,
Yeah, that makes sense.
so yeah, the perspective of someone who basically got started with it online is a different one.
Also, I just realized I never answered Anamoy's question. No, my sister does not like Trixie,
Ah, okay.
which I mean, like, can never forgive her.
Did well, I guess she was young, right? When you started?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is
She was
she's
like 6 years old now, I think. Maybe even less than that.
is
Ah, she was 6 years old at that time, and I think now she's 9. No, that
no,
not math doesn't.
she would be
Oh,
older.
no. Yeah, okay. So she was born in 2013. There we go.
Okay.
So December 2016 would be like 3.5 years after she was born. So
Right.
that's how old she was.
Okay.
Pretty young.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Still
now she's not as young.
still pretty young in the grand scheme of
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
Okay. Um I guess I'm next.
yeah.
And last. The other person on the stream who hasn't talked for the last hour. Uh
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Yeah, no. No no worries. Like I said, I didn't think we would I thought each of us would talk for 15 minutes and that'd be it. Um so I guess to go all the way back, well, I'm going back even further than you. Because it was the summer of 2012 that I first discovered the show.
Ooh.
I was working. This is my first programming job actually. I was working in Winnipeg. This is a summer job. And I discovered that was the year that I discovered TV tropes. Actually, tvtropes.org.
Mm-hmm.
If you know that website.
Yeah.
And I wasted way too much time at work looking at it. But I just kept seeing the show pop up, right?
Yeah.
In all these pages that I was looking at, and it was always like comments on, oh, the writing's really good, and they actually like are, it's not just super cliched and everything, right? And I also at the time I was relatively big into StarCraft at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and that was about the time that StarCraft 2 came up, was coming out, like the first instance of it. And so my first time seeing the show was it was a bona fide trailer uh, for for that game. That was my first time actually seeing the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, like I don't remember exactly why, but at some point in August of that year, after having seen it come up, and like I had read a little bit about the whole brony phenomenon, and I figured, okay, whatever, I'll give it a shot. Um, so yeah, that was like August of 2012. Uh, and yeah, I basically just watched the first. Was it the first 2 seasons that were out by then? Was it just the first one?
7 to 12 would be like.
I
I think
think it.
it's first and second.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I was hooked on it basically from the start. Um, I guess since we said that, my favorite episode at the time was which one was it? The Art of the Dress episode.
Oh well, I know which one you mean.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. Where exactly the whole Celestia thing came from, I can just say that I I was always like kind of super interested in the sort of world building side of it.
Mm-hmm.
In yeah, like this theory of how a country like Equestria would be governed and its broad history. Um, I started writing fanfics pretty soon after having discovered it, and I just gravitated towards Celestia's character because because there's so much to do there other than, you know, like she's got this gigantic big life story that I'm sure is a big story to write about, right? There's
Yeah.
yeah. And so largely it's just because and frankly I'm still writing that story, but yeah, that was kind of just what I spent most of my time thinking about. And so I just kind of latched on to that. And also like I knew certainly from looking online that everyone else loved Princess Luna. So the contrarian in me just naturally gravitated the other direction. So anyway, that was how I got started. And then like yeah, at that point I hadn't heard about the game at all. Um, it was next year. So the year after that, I took another summer job. This time in Vancouver. And I went and visited a meetup group there. It was like the first time that I had heard that there were pony meetup groups, and someone there mentioned just kind of offhand that they oh yeah I was at the card store on Monday for the card meetup, and I was like, wait, there's a card game. um and so yeah, that was they kind of convinced me to show up, and I don't think I had played any card game ever before that point.
Mhm. That
um
was your first card game.
this is the first one, yeah.
Well, it's a good one.
It turned out to be, yeah. So yeah, I went down there, and well, yeah, that was the Vancouver play group, which was, and well, there, I don't know the extent that it still exists these days, but yeah, Pages and Max, and there was about maybe a dozen to 2 dozen people
Hmm.
who played there at that time, and that was Candlelight Nights. Uh, it had been around for a while, and then Crystal Games released while I was there that summer, I'm pretty sure. So it was formative days. Everybody, you opened a pack to try to get a Cloud Chaser or an RTO. That was how it went. Um, and in that summer, I was just kind of the usual CCG player. Head down to the shop, buy a couple of packs, open them up, see what you get, and try to work on a starter deck. The starter deck that I worked on originally was the Princess Luna one from Candlelight Nights. Actually, I know.
Yeah, yeah,
But
I
but
know that.
yeah, I, like from the pretty much from the start, I had wanted to. I would always try to make an Alicorn centric deck, which was a lot harder before Twilight became an Alicorn, obviously. Uh,
Yeah,
Especially because the Celestia cards really sucked in the early part of the game. Um, like yeah, so the deck was not great, but I had a lot of fun there. Like I think one of my favorite memories was like in my first. It was at the Crystal Games pre-release. One of my packs had the Spike Ultra Rare main in it, and I traded it away like on that night. um, which obviously Friendship Express or Dragon Express
yeah.
uh, happened like a couple weeks later, and I was pretty bummed about that. But obviously that got banned very quickly. Um, so that was just a summer job. Moved back to Winnipeg where I was still going to school. Um, and then the next year I went to Vancouver again. I got hired back at the same company for summer, and that was a longer posting for another 8 months. And I think it would have been that year, I think, that I went to the first BronyCon. Was my first convention.
Where was Burnican?
Well, it was Vancouver. Well,
Oh,
Richmond, technically. Or wait,
oh,
was it not in? It might
it's
have been
one.
in a different venue the first time.
Hmm.
But Vancouver for sure.
Oh, yeah.
That area.
So why? So like Vancouver is like separate to that.
Sorry.
Vancouver convention is like separate to that.
Well, at the time, it was just the one. Like they just called it BronyCon, I think.
Okay, I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Sorry. like there was just the one convention, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I was like even at that point. Well, like I went to a few like writers panels and stuff, but even at that point, I was there mostly for the card game because all my friends from the community were
Mm-hmm.
were from the card game. Um, that was the era where I believe it was Cheese actually who won that tournament. Playing Diamonds in the Sky, I think. So that was old time ago. Maybe that was the year before Crystal Games. Then I don't know. Anyway, the long and short of it is, when I came back to Winnipeg after that, I did find another community here, a much smaller one, obviously. Um, and I guess like the one thing that I remember from there is that they were uh, like they were playing troublemakers differently when I first showed up. Uh, uh, in a way, this reminds me of what you said, how everyone troublemakers were kind of hard to figure out. Um, they were playing that at the start of your troublemaker phase, you got to choose whether or not to uncover your troublemakers.
Oh, yeah. That's not how.
Yeah, that's that. It was, yeah, definitely a bit of a uh, yeah. So that was my first rules discussion. Basically, opened up the rule book with them, and we went through it word by word. And it's like, nah, yeah, you kind of have to do it. So, um, that was that. And that was like over the course of that winter, I think there was a guy who had been sort of like the anchor collector of that group, because every play group has like a bunch of casuals like me, and then there's like one or two people who are the serious
Yeah,
people who buy all the boxes and have the gigantic collections, right?
yeah.
And so
I
that
think that's me now.
well, yeah, uh, that winter, one of those guys was selling out. He was leaving the game and he was selling his whole collection. And I guess that was the point that I decided, okay, well, I'm gonna take the plunge. And so I
Hmm.
bought it was some number of hundreds of dollars. I don't remember if it was 200 or it was a lot. Like same as you. I was a student at that time, so it was
Yeah,
it was a gigantic purchase, but it was like a complete set of Premiere, Candlelight Nights, Crystal Games, and a bit of Absolute Discord too. Uh, with a bunch of promos and stuff. So that like pretty much set me up for
yeah,
the early parts of the game. And well, yeah, from that point on was when I was sort of a serious collector. I would actually buy the booster boxes and um, try to actually make something of my cards, I guess you could say. So anyway, do. Let's see. There was like a 4 month period after I graduated from university. Then I moved out to Calgary, right? And I that would have been 2015
hmm,
to pin us back to the timeline. Um, and I knew that, yeah. So I know that I had some of the time that I was living in Vancouver. I think it was the second time was when I sort of discovered uh, the community that was on Skype at that point for the game,
hmm.
and that was my main communication with the community at that time. Obviously this was before Coco, way before Core existed.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but like, yeah, I was definitely having games with webcam, and I knew, having asked around, that there was no real community in Calgary for the game. But I wanted to stay relevant, basically, and keep my skills um, going. So that year that I moved out to Calgary was when I started doing adventures in deck building, um,
hmm.
which was yeah, that the original concept was to every week pick a main character at random and build a deck for it and write a little 1-page article talking about it. And that was posted up on Reddit at the time. My first few decks were awful. Frankly, it took me a long time before my deck building skills got anywhere near good. And frankly, I don't know if they're still any good.
All right.
Yeah. It was, but yeah, it was. I mean, I don't want to say when exactly or if I ever became like a notable community figure or whatever, but like that was, I guess, when my name started getting attached to stuff on Reddit, etc. Now it was around about the time that Defenders was coming out that I started thinking about this idea of doing my own Twitch stream. Obviously, Commentaries Magic had been going for a long time up to that
Yeah.
point, and I had seen but yeah, at all the conventions I had gone to, and I guess it's worth pointing out that I visited a few others in that time. I think mostly Everfree. It was a while before I went to any convention other than the Vancouver one and Everfree. But there had been a few more over those years. And in all of them, Sim had been doing the streams. And I guess full confession, I was pretty jealous of Commentaries Magic that whole time. Like that was definitely another motivation for me to do adventures, was because I really wanted their respect,
Yeah.
the respect of those guys. And so I figured, you know, get respected for the things you do. Basically, I
Yeah.
wanted to put myself out there. So after doing adventure for a little while, I decided I could maybe try a Twitch stream, and I looked around for people to potentially do it with. Obviously, some people all have their own Twitch stream already, but that was the period where Solving Problems, my original partner, he had been making videos on YouTube. I don't remember now exactly what. I wonder if I'm still subscribed to him. Don't know if I am.
Yeah, I remember watching those videos.
Yeah, like they were just kind of general.
Yeah,
Yeah, I am not still subbed to him, unfortunately.
I think I might be.
Well, yeah, just kind of general introduction to the game sort of thing. And so I approached him and said, I'm thinking of starting up a Twitch stream similar to what Sim does. Would you like to join up with that? And yeah, he was fairly receptive to the idea. And so I'm pretty sure that actually, that's right. Our first stream is still in Twitch. Like we archived it. Where's Twitch? Do I not have it open? Thought I had it open. I have the
Yeah, I see. It's stream number 1.
stream number 1. Yeah. What's the
6 years ago, 2017.
yeah. Geez, I don't know. I don't know enough about Video Producer. There it is. Okay, but no.
February 19th.
Oh, okay, but we don't have the topic there. It's just stream number 1. Okay, so I guess I don't remember what it was about.
The description says discussion on the first 14 cards revealed from the Defenders of the
Oh, right. It was Defender spoilers. That's right.
So yeah, that's the mains. That's when I got into the game.
Yeah.
around
Um,
that. Like it was only a few months after I got into the game.
yeah, I think the oldest recording that I have of of archives would be the Defender set review. Um, so yeah, that was when well yeah, that was when we started doing that. I think doo. So for a long time that was just kind of what we did. And I don't remember when Sim first approached, asked me to commentate something.
It was with me, right?
Was it?
I think. Well, I don't know if it was your first commentary, but you and me together commented something,
That's right.
and that's when you like a little bit after you invited me to Meticulous Talks.
Yeah. Um,
But I don't know if it was your first time.
I feel like I had worked with somebody else before then, or maybe, well, probably not on my own at first. Hmm. Unlike you, I don't have. Well, I guess they are probably in Discord somewhere, or maybe not. Like, I joined Discord a lot
Yeah,
later than you.
yeah, that's such a nice thing about Discord is that they keep messages forever.
Yeah.
Also, a terrifying thing as well. It's a double-edged sword.
Fair enough. Yeah. But yeah, like so. As I said, I had been on Slack or Skype. Skype. Pretty sure, yeah, that I was still on Skype when these first Cocos started getting played because I'm pretty sure that was still the
Yeah,
primary way that, or well, the primary way
yeah,
that my piece of the community, at least, um,
yeah.
got together. And well, so long as we have those links, I guess I can look. I already looked at the decks that I was playing, and it's not too surprising that I was playing purple control, um, mimics and photo finishes and usual marks and time stuff. Um, I'm pretty sure. Oops, that's just Tempest again. That this period, marks and time, uh, up to the start of Defenders, was basically the period where I was the most competitive in how I approached the game. I really wanted to actually do good, basically. Um, and
Yeah, makes
and
sense.
and that period, that sort of purple white control period of marks and defenders, those that was the sort of era of the game that I understood best, I think, out of all of them. Um, and so like I'm pretty sure it was BronyCon that year. Yes, that was the that was the closest that I ever came to actually being in a top eight. When I missed out only on tiebreakers, which was unfortunate. But then, yeah, like after that, I just kind of, well, the meta changed, and I guess I wasn't really willing to change with it. I was still just trying to play control.
I get that feel again.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we come to a period at some point. Yeah, it must have been after I worked with you on a stream at some point.
Yeah,
Um,
I remember that.
yeah, I'm pretty
You
sure.
messaged me on Slack like maybe several weeks after we did a commentary together. Like it was shortly after.
Mhm. Yeah, and I had been like, I kind of felt like, basically like, well, yeah, that the stream could just use another person. That well, yeah, I honestly that we could have more content and more perspectives, and wouldn't that be nice? Um, and you seem to be a sort of, I don't want to say rising star per se, but a rising personality, right? Like I could see that you were active on Discord. You were playing the game. You knew your stuff when I did the commentary with you. I figured, yeah, sure, why not? Let's see if I can nab Hithrock. Um, and so, well, yeah, you have the conversation. And I think you didn't have any objections, right?
Well, I did say like it was on Slack, so I don't have the exact history. I remember clearly that this was on Slack.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I also did say to you like, hey, but like my English is but otherwise, sure.
Yeah. And like, right. Again, I wouldn't say that your English is any better today than it was back then. It's still great.
That's terrifying.
Like it's no real noticeable difference to me. Anyway, um, kind of lost my train of thought there. Well, yeah, we got you. Solving obviously left. Uh, when was it? It was like our second or third year, I think.
It
Uh,
was shortly after the set review.
yeah, and since then it's
Uh,
been
for Friends Forever, yes.
yeah, yeah, and then yeah, since then it's been just you and me. Well, Pages is
Behind the curtains.
mm-hmm, yep. Um, and yeah, I guess the rest of it is fairly old news. Well, not old news, but like new
New news.
new
New
news,
old news.
new old news. Yeah. Um, the invitational was a um, well, really, like I don't know when it was. Was it maybe when I was living in Calgary that I started playing Hearthstone? Something around there. My second CCT experience, I guess. And I was never a super competitive player, but I really liked the sort of structure that they used for their tournaments, where you had to bring multiple decks, and
Mhm.
right, like you played one until that got
Yeah,
beaten,
yeah.
and yeah. So I I wanted to try to do something like that in pony cards, and that was where the first ideas for what became the Invitational started from. This sort of idea of a tournament where you would have to bring multiple decks, and we could have this element to it of choice of decks into the game, and
Yeah.
then having it be multiple formats. Uh, I want to say that it was that was something Bugle suggested to me too, but I'm not sure.
It might have been me who suggested it
It might,
because
yeah,
we were like kind of like he told me the idea and I thought like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if you do that? Like I think we just talked about. Well, I mean, I don't remember if it was me or not,
right.
but I
I
remember what that we had a sort of brainstorming session about it.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I know. I'm pretty sure that was somebody else's suggestion. Um, but then, well, yeah, it was. I guess. Well, yeah, this is the third time that we've done it, so it was 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was a huge success. Like I was participating in the first one, and again, I'm not like a super competitive player, so I wasn't like thinking about everything that other like. But I brought a combo deck, my favorite blue, white, purple deck, and
Hmm.
like some other decks to like on the backup. uh, but it was like really good. I think it was my most enjoyed tournament by far.
Yeah, and I heard that from a bunch of people too. Um,
And that's it's really interesting that it felt super competitive, even though there were like zero stakes. Like you don't get anything for
yeah,
winning,
yeah.
but
That's
it felt more competitive than continentals. At least to me, it felt like that.
I don't know about compared to Continentals, yeah, but well, the fact that we do play it as best of three and that it is played over such a long period, um,
Yeah,
yeah, and of course that allows us to do so much extra content for the viewers too. So That's always been a good part of it. Anyway, I think that's all the sort of notable pieces of it that I can think of. Yeah, as mentioned, it's sometime. It would have been sometime toward the end of my time in Calgary that I got onto Discord, as well as well Slack pretty much when Sim started up their Patreon. Um,
I think Sim already had a Patreon when I started watching Sim, but maybe not. Maybe.
right. But yeah, I think that kind of takes me through to the present day. The Twitch stream's still going. The adventure is still going, although on hold because of the Invitational, and the Invitational's still
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
I have I have a problem with finishing stuff. That is a lesson I have learned and not put into action.
I mean, I think that's kind of a common thing. I still can't finish my rewrite of the draft simulator, which is gonna be finished at some point in the future.
Anyway, yeah. That's I only got half an hour or 40 minutes worth. Didn't have quite as many anecdotes as you, I don't think.
You didn't send your first cards into a known address, not knowing if you could get them.
That's yeah. Well, like so. Well, not quite, but like that is a somewhat notable point. That like when I was living in Calgary, I did still buy all my cards from the Vancouver store. Like well, yeah, that was the store owner that I had a relationship with, I guess. So yeah, every set release, I would phone them up and say, "Hey, yeah, can you send a booster box or two my way?" And they would have that set up. That like actually, whenever I'm in Vancouver for a convention, I don't go to all the Brony cans, but I try to go to some of them. I do still because their traditional meetup day was Mondays, so I do usually book an extra day at the hotel to be able to go down there and play again. Which these days it's basically just Ian Pages and Max, but still,
Yeah.
always good to be back in that store whenever I can.
I guess one little thing was also that I kind of didn't mention at all, but was also kind of big for me is going to the US for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Because first going to the US was not an option for a long time because I didn't have a job. Not having a job means you can't buy transatlantic flights.
Mm-hmm.
Because those things are pricey, although they're cheaper than I expected, to be honest. So, and then I wanted to go to BronyCon, but the problem was that in Russia, their queue times for the US visa are like extremely long, like up to 6 months, sometimes even longer.
Yeah.
And people wait for several years. So and then the last BronyCon was next, which was 2019, right? And I thought like, okay, I should really try to get a visa now for that. So I signed up for the visa. I got no news for it for about 6 months. I signed up for it in January, and then on August 2nd, which is when the last BronyCon started. It was the first day of it. I get an email. Oh, you've got like your appointment for the visa interview. Please come at like August 7th, I think it was, or something like that. And I was like, yeah, about time.
Yeah.
But thankfully, you could change your application when you get an appointment. So I changed it to, because in the application you have to specify like the dates you're gonna be, which hotel you're gonna stay, why you're going, and so on and so forth. So I updated my application to Ciderfest because that was the closest convention, and I mean, Continentals were there as well, so
Hmm.
that was pretty good. So I changed it. I didn't think my visa would get approved because US visa processes, they interview you, and if they feel like you don't have good ties to your home country, they're not gonna let you in because they think you're gonna immigrate, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, look at me. I have a remote job, no property, no cars, nothing. I have nothing in like I might as well immigrate illegally. To like like if I wasn't convincing myself, I can't convince the visa officer. But our conversation went fine. We kind of talked. She asked me things. Uh, she also told me a little story how yesterday she had a person who had exactly the same name and birthday to me.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, wow, what a coincidence. And she's like, or is it?
Hmm.
So it was nice that they were like chill, kind of put off the stress of being interviewed.
Yeah, exactly.
She asked for my CV. I didn't have a CV on me because they didn't say I would need a CV, which is a resume, basically. Uh, so she gave me like a little paper and told me to send it in, and then they gave tell me their decision. So I did that, and after a month, they approved my visa. I was checking the page every day. Every day I would check like, oh, is it still processing? Or is it still processing? And it was like that for a month. And it was like that for a month because they like to put IT people under like extra background checks.
Hmm.
That's like a thing for not just IT but technical jobs. Like if you work in a technical tech thing, they put extra background checks on you. But after a month, it got approved. It got approved for a year, and I thought like, oh, this is amazing. I can travel to the US for the entire year. Uh, so I went to Ciderfest. Ciderfest was amazing. Not because the convention was amazing. Not I have nothing to say about the convention, but I have a lot to say about all of the people I met there. It was so good. It was one of the best times I've ever had at Ciderfest. And participating in the tournament was, of course, very fun.
Hmm.
I think I got top 16 or something. I made it to the cut,
Right.
and then my first opponent was the winner of the Continental. So
Right. I was
ki- ki-
I feel like I was doing commentary for
yeah,
that
you were
one.
doing commentary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a really good time. I really loved like I met a lot of people who I only knew online. I met Ethiopia, Anamo, pretty much everyone except you, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. This is the story of how you and I have still not met face to face.
Yeah, even though we're both in the same country now, and we're still haven't met. At some point, like
I,
now, it's
yeah,
within the realm of
now it's
possibility.
definitely gonna happen soonish. I hope.
Yeah. Okay, so Cider Quest was amazing, and I thought like, oh wow, what? And I figured, okay, while I have the visa for a year, I should travel to the US as much as possible so I can like get fed up with it and don't like not worry about getting another visa in the year,
Hmm.
because my visa had a thing because of the extra background processing checks. I couldn't extend it. I would have to reapply for a new one.
Right.
Um, so either way, it's um, it's about at about that time, me and my friends planned this huge trip. So that trip would take like several weeks, probably. I think it was 3 weeks or a month, where we would go to Paris, go to Disneyland there. Then from Paris we go to Stuttgart, go to Galacon. Then from Galacon we fly to Seattle, and go to Everfree Northwest.
Right.
because BronyCon was over, and like it was the Everfree was the next big convention now, and we would stay in Seattle for like a week. So we planned this huge trip. We booked flights, we booked Airbnbs, we booked everything. And also in January, I figured, okay, but like uh, again, I should probably go to the US as much as possible for this year. So might as well go to BabsCon, especially since the flight tickets are actually pretty cheap. It was like $500 a round trip,
Yeah,
like
it's pretty
from
good.
Moscow to San Francisco. That's like really cheap for a flight like that.
I think it cost me more to fly to San Francisco, probably.
Yeah, it was super cheap. It was also like pretty good. You get like two checked bag. Like it was a really good thing. I like booked it, and me and my friend wanted to go to San Francisco, but that was in January. And what year it is? It was the year 2020, January 2020.
Hmm.
So none of that happened. Uh, I had fun canceling my flights, refunding my flights for BAPS. We had a lot of fun refunding stuff for our huge trip because remember we booked everything at that point. We booked hotels, we booked Airbnbs, we booked flights, we booked trains. All of it was booked, and it was really fun getting it all refunded. But we did. We refunded most of it except trains, I think. So yeah. So that was the first kind of really annoying hit. That okay, I just got to travel to the US once, but at least that one time was amazing. But I thought like, okay, fine. Like at some point, COVID is gonna be over, and I'm gonna try to get a visa again. Next year, 2021 spring, uh, a new thing gets announced. So in 2021 spring, like the restrictions are already being kind of relaxed, there's kind of hope that you might be able to travel at some point in the future, right? I
Hmm.
think Everfree happened in 2021, right?
I think it
So
did. Yeah.
so yeah, like I was beginning to gain hope that I might get like a visa again, travel again. And that's when Russian embassy, US embassy in Russia closes. It's still closed. It's only for diplomats now.
Right.
Which means to get a US visa, you have to go to another country now if you're Russian, which was really, really fun. But I thought, like, okay, that's really bad. But if I really want to, at least it's possible. So I was kind of looking into that. And then next year is 2022, and we have the thing,
The thing.
the thing
Yeah.
in Russia. So it was kind of, a roller coaster, where you kind of get up, like, oh, I might be able to travel again. Nope. And then you get up again, and then nope. But now we're on the higher end of the roller coaster because now I'm in Canada and things are better. Still hard to get a US visa, but at least I can go to Vancouver.
Right. Yeah. And it'll take some time, but eventually you'll be able to get to the US easily.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll see. But yeah, I guess I should just stop talking now.
uh, if there's nothing else to say.
I mean, not much, except my entire life story.
Yeah, a fair amount of it, I guess, actually. The way to say, I guess, to wrap up is that, well, frankly, yeah, for the last, I guess for me, it's been like a decade. Um, and for you, still, fair amount of time. Uh,
Almost 7 years, right? It's 2016, 6 years.
6 years.
So
Yeah.
it's gonna be 6 years next month.
Yeah, invested in the game, among other things, obviously. But yeah, and hopefully, if you're in the audience, you learned something, I guess, that you might not have known before about us. But it's been a wonderful time, and I feel like we're gonna keep on with it
Yeah.
as whatever the future holds.
Hmm.
Uh, So, just to end off with some housekeeping notes, the fourth match of the Invitational this year is tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, usual times. Back then, if you want it, the first match of the lower bracket is going to be going up on YouTube this week. Probably, let me see here, like maybe Wednesday, I guess. Because I usually don't want to. I try not to release more than one video per day. There's going to be a bit of a backlog of
Yeah.
videos with this stream and the upper bracket and everything. So at some point it'll be on YouTube this week. Otherwise, well, we'll be back in 2 weeks from now with another stream.
Yeah.
Actually, wait. No, yeah, it's 3 weeks from now is Ciderfest, right?
That would make sense. Yes.
I think so. Yeah, so 2 weeks from now with another stream. Thank you, Hithrock, for sharing your life story.
Yeah, thank you too. It was really interesting to hear yours because I actually didn't know all that much about your story, but I guess neither did you about mine.
Yeah, it was a good sharing session both ways. And thank you to everyone who was here with us in chat, or if you were just watching or listening.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I guess I will say that I have been Cursor Chords,
That been Hithrock.
and we'll see you soon.
Bye.